it may not surprise you to learn that there are real-world consequences for all that violent rhetoric. Do you recall how we've been calling what Trump does stochastic terrorism? What Jesse Waters does, that's stochastic terrorism. It is constantly using rhetoric that is designed to get people to go commit acts of violence. I'll be honest here. I get pretty darn mouthy, and I mean it. But I'm talking about for me only. And just to be crystal clear, if anybody that watches this show commits an act of violence in the name of the show, I will seriously consider just shutting it all down. All of it. Because we can't have that. If we are raising the bar, we simply cannot allow ourselves to devolve into a civilization of warring states, which is what the far right would have. Case in point, because Donald Trump has not been held to account for inciting violence as he does just about every day, check out this piece of news.
The FBI has killed a man in Utah. Officials say Craig D. Robertson was making violent threats toward President Biden timed to his visit to Utah, which is expected later today, along with threats to DA Alvin Bragg.
Now, I do want to both credit Katie Tour and shame us all for this. Tour, I'm sorry. And Katie, lovely new haircut since you were last on WYCD. I assume she watches. Yeah, the FBI did kill somebody. I just want to point out that when the FBI kills this sort of person, they call it what it is. Last time law enforcement of any kind were involved in in the death of a person of color, it was, of course, an officer-involved shooting, last I read. Officer-involved shooting. Oh, were they standing near there? Did the person try to shoot the officer, but they dropped their gun and accidentally shot themselves? An officer-involved shooting. What could have happened? Republican gets got. FBI killed someone. Yeah. And listen to the details, because I think you will agree that they didn't have much of a choice.
Joining me now is NBC News investigative correspondent Tom Winter. So the FBI doesn't kill people just for saying things. What happened?
Right. So they had been conducting an investigation since March, where, according to charging documents in the search warrant affidavit, which we've received, our colleague Andy Blankstein, they started an investigation in March of this year. The FBI received a tip-off from a social media company, and it doesn't say which one, and we're in the process of trying to confirm, a social media company saying, hey, this person, Craig D. Robertson of Provo, Utah, is saying some things that you might want to look into. And the FBI began an investigation based on a number of posts that directly referenced President Joe Biden, Vice President Harris, as well as Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who's obviously one of the people who's brought an indictment against former President Trump. In the course of their investigation, they said that they went up to him, they surveilled him, that he confirmed to them that he was who he was, that these were his posts. At some point, according to the charging documents, he says, hey, FBI, if you're still monitoring my posts, know that I've got a gun by my side in case you ever want to come by again.
Now, I realize right-wingers are real fond of doing that as a really, let's be frank, it's a way of showing off to their friends. You know, there's hyenas on the savannah which will run up to lions while other hyenas are watching, and they'll run up and they'll dash by and bite, or they'll steal a chunk of meat from the carcass the hyena is eating. It's not because they want to show or the meat the lions eating. It's not because they want to show the lions they're not afraid of them. It's bragging for their friends. This is no different. But I think they forget that these are damn lions. I think they forget that there are bigger teeth and claws involved than your collection of glorified toys that you pretend to train with on the weekends there, Jethro. I realize they found out the guy's name. I don't care what it is. There's consequences, and they act shocked, just shocked, when they slap the law in the face over and over and then experience consequences. Now, this might seem to you and me like a nothing point. Like, why pause to talk about this? That's because if you're on the left, you're familiar with consequences. You're familiar with sneezing wrong at a peaceful protest where you're simply asking law enforcement not to kill innocent people. Not to kill people who have literally done nothing. Not to kill a fella who it turns out was just trying to get home after buying a cigar. You so much as look at a law enforcement officer crossways at one such protest, you might get your ass whipped. You struggle too much, there might be a march in your honor soon. We're familiar with consequences. We have a sense of what these law enforcement agencies do, what they're capable of doing. Right-wingers are always shocked by this. They're utterly shocked when the thing they literally were asking for, over and over and over again. Hey, FBI, if you're listening, you should know I got a gun. Well, shit, they were listening. And they treated you like you had a gun, and they responded to your challenge, I'm sorry, appropriately. You said if they came by your house, you had a gun and you might use it. What the did you think was going to happen? I can answer that question. This person's dead, don't worry. I can literally speak for them because I have seen it time and time again. This guy thought nothing was going to happen. He expected the insanely light treatment that people of his political persuasion are used to. And frankly, at this point, I think it is as much a danger to them as it is to the rest of us. Or at least it is also a danger to them now, as well as their behavior having already been a danger to the rest of us. Why? Because they keep getting themselves into trouble without fully understanding that consequences exist. It's like if you only punish a dog half the time. They don't know what's right and what's wrong. They don't know what to expect. That's what we have here. We wait for it to get this bad before we dare bother a right-winger. Before we dare interrupt their day of saying that all trans people should be genocided, or black people aren't people, or immigrants just by showing up are illegal. We dare not interrupt that. We don't interrupt them protesting by showing up to drag events with guns to threaten people with. Just to threaten them with the presence of a gun right outside just an event. And so they're shocked. They're just shocked when finally they get taken seriously because they ran their mouths long enough, and finally the government took notice saw their threat and reacted appropriately. Let's let the professionals keep it up.
He made a direct threat against President Joe Biden on Monday. Later this afternoon, the president travels to Utah, so obviously there's some concern there. The threat against Alvin Bragg was particularly graphic and specific. It did state that he wanted to kill him. He posted photos with guns. He posted photos with the FBI calls a sniper rifle. When they observed him, they said that he was wearing a white, some sort of a white shirt, a darker suit. He had some sort of a camouflage hat on him that said the word Trump on the top of it, as well as an AR-15 pin. As a matter of course, Katie, the FBI's inspection division, which reviews any FBI-involved shooting, will take a look at this in these.
For MAGA, that's the equivalent of their dress blues. Let's see. Camo MAGA hat. Inexplicably also wearing a suit with that nonsense, and an AR-15 pin. That is very. There's almost no difference from like a dishonorably discharged colonel putting on their military uniform before. It's super sad. Super sad. You know what? Let me show you something. I could go on with this guy, but what else are we going to learn? He was a nut job that fell for Trump rhetoric, fell for right-wing rhetoric. And he finally threatened the president because he thought he lived in a world where you do not have to respect the office. I wonder where he got that impression. Threatened the president, and the FBI reacted. I literally am angry that I have to say this, but they reacted appropriately. I don't think most of the time when the FBI barges in a place with their guns out, it's appropriate. I think most of the time what you could have done is show up with an unarmed, officer-friendly, with a court order to officially hand it over. Most of the time, I believe, and admittedly I'm a civilian, but from my perspective, that seems to be how most other countries handle the majority of the times that we instead choose to send a SWAT team. But, in this case, I can't deny the FBI acted appropriately. Let's look at the person this guy was fanatically supporting. Shall we?
A previously unseen memo is providing potentially damning new evidence about the plot to overturn the 2020 election results by Donald Trump and members of his inner circle. The memo, which was obtained by the New York Times and has not been verified by NBC News, was allegedly sent in early December 2020 by Trump lawyer Kenneth Chesebro. Chesebro was one of the co-conspirators identified but not charged in the Justice Department's most recent indictment of the former president. In the newly obtained note, Chesebro outlines what would become known as the fake electors scheme, which falsely claimed former Vice President Mike Pence had the power to block the certification of the state's votes on January 6th.
And to lie about people who were going to be the electors, fake electors, to create a fraudulent slate of electors. And this is what Trump's defenders are calling free speech?
No.
That's
not free speech.
That's like an attempt
It's a criminal
to
scheme.
defraud Americans.
Chesebro allegedly
steal their votes.
wrote to another Trump lawyer about what he acknowledged was a, quote, bold and controversial strategy, but claimed he was not necessarily advising this course of action, Despite trying to distance himself from the plan, though, the Times reports that just one day after sending that memo, it ended up on the desk of Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani.
Oh, that's just
it's not good.
Not good for Rudy or anybody.
As for the fake elector scheme itself, Cheesebro even admitted that the Supreme Court was likely to end up rejecting the plan. But
somebody just died over those lies. Someone just died for that. Right there. In fact, let's not make it difficult. Somebody just died over that. Now, I'll be frank with you. I'm sure I wouldn't have liked this person if we would have met. I'm sure we would have hollered at each other and gone our separate ways with digits raised in each other's directions. I'm sure. But if you were to ask whatever family they had, what was good about this person that was just killed over those lies? What was good about him? They'd probably say something like, "Oh, they were a wonderful woodworker," or "Oh, they had a way of telling stories that the whole family just loved." "Oh, they had a special dish that they brought every Thanksgiving, and we all loved it, and we would sit around eating that dish with them. They were funny. They were kind to us." They'd say things like that. Because their politics was such that they believed what Donald Trump said, they believed what Alex Jones said, they believed what Jesse Waters said, they believed what all these people who are allowed to run their mouths and lie, they believed those people. They're dead. That dish is not going to be at Thanksgiving this year. Never going to hear those stories again. Not going to be able to reminisce with that person. They're dead. Did Trump share that fact that we just saw on Morning Joe? Did he share the fact that Cheesebro said that it seemed like the Supreme Court might not accept their argument? How about all these other facts that have been coming out? Why do we have to learn about this? All these things that make it quite clear that if nothing else, even if you assume absolute genuine ignorance on everything else Trump did, that he was informed multiple times. What a long shot. What an incredibly long shot. The gentle way of saying it was straight up against the law, but let's be kind. What a long shot it was. Did Trump share any of that stuff? Was he honest with the people that followed him about what his odds were of legally holding on to office? No. He hid the truth from them, as always. And somebody just died. Not the first time. This is why. This is why we have to take these people seriously. The liars we have to take seriously. We have to actually take steps to do something about. The gullible in this country and around the world, frankly, will fall for this stuff. There will be a crowd that accepts it. There will be a crowd that doesn't need sources listed. There will be a crowd that is just waiting to hear kind of stuff that Donald Trump says, it is incumbent on the people who do not fall for that, on the people who are actually thinking critically, on the adults in society, to ensure that, number one, there are rules to prevent people from doing what Donald Trump, Jesse Waters, all of Fox News, frankly, all of OAN, all of Newsmax has done, and that those rules are enforced. That's us, folks. That's us. And that is why we are doing what we are doing now, and that is the main topic I want to talk about today. It is, of course, what you can do.